Yeah, hello everyone. Welcome to Hardcore Metal Detecting Radio. I'm Derek Askler and Craig Talley's on the line there. We're going to talk a lot about metal detecting tonight, mostly about coils and settings. Sorry about the little, hiatus or whatever. And a lot of y'all know it. My wife passed, about a month ago now, and trying to get everything to, back right, get all the stuff, done that you need to do, and deal with your own, you know, deal with your own junk. So I'm just trying to get everything straightened out, and we're gonna keep on doing the show every Saturday night. And Craig and I have been talking about the morning show. What days we'd like to do it on, and instead of the 3 days a week, the Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we may be changing that up just a little bit. But there's a lot of other big changes that we're going to be working on in the next month or two, and really, I can't really get into too much detail on it, but it's dealing with a whole new format and kind of a different way of doing the show. It'd still be through Spreaker, but there will be essentially, I'm just going to call it a website, but it's not really a website. It's more interactive. So we're trying to try some new stuff, and kind of go with it from there. But we are doing. I'm been getting out anyways, doing some metal detecting and stuff like that. Lately, Craig, and when I'm not trying to freeze my butt off or then boil down here in Florida, it's been a nutty dang month. It seems like we had 10 straight days of up to 80 degrees, and then it drops down into the 30s, and the weather patterns all kinds of crazy. So, of course, got the flu and everything. Everybody's getting it down here. It seems like. Just trying to stay healthy more or less. But getting back in the groove, Craig. So we're gonna continue on and do our thing. I got I know, Craig. You've been using that 6-inch coil on the Equinox, and well, you said you just got the big old coil in there. So you haven't even used that one yet, the big coil, the 15-incher, have you?
Yeah, actually I have. I've had it for, I don't know, a little over a week, I guess.
Oh, okay.
And,
All right.
uh,
What do you think?
I hadn't really had, I've been getting a lot of people on Instagram and some people on Facebook and stuff and YouTube, asking me about it, and how much depth and this and that, and on I got on big iron stuff deep. I mean, it's unbelievable. I was getting like spikes down over a foot deep easily with this one, and I hadn't heard those signals with the 11-inch coil, but I got as far as depth on a coin, like a penny timed size coin, you might get an inch or two,
Right.
but on something bigger, something that's big and has more weight to it, or like big piece of iron that's got more mass to it, it seems to hit those a lot deeper.
Yeah.
So it was like yesterday. I finally got something halfway decent with the coil. I'd been digging non-ferrous stuff up, but I hadn't really gotten anything worth really keeping or anything. But I got like a mixed signal right in the back, right near my shed, where my friend next door, Steve, was laughing because he was over talking to me, and I said, "Hey, look at my backyard, that little section there." And he goes, "Oh my God, it's like a checkerboard with
Yeah.
everywhere." And I said, "Luckily, this is my yard."
Yeah.
But anyway, I got this weird signal, and I got a video on it, on all the stuff I pulled out of the hole. I ended up digging down about a foot and a half, but at about maybe 6 inches, I thought I had a coin, and now I'm almost thinking it might be a steel penny, because it looks the same size as a coin, and even has like a smooth edge around it, but it's got like bubbles of rust all over it.
That could be. I mean, that's one thing I don't find very many of them.
Penny.
Yeah, I've only found like 2 or 3 of those in the past. I mean, they're not, they're
the only time I've ever found them is in a coin spill with like wheat pennies.
Right.
Like I'll take 1 or 2 wheat pennies, and there's another rusty coin, and I go, oh, that's got to be a steel steel.
I wonder how they read up, Craig. I mean, what was it reading up as, or did you get a VDI on it or anything like that? That would.
I don't know.
I guess we need to test that just for curiosity's sake.
About, out of that same hole, I pulled like 8. What was it? 8 square nails.
Right.
And I even pulled a bunch of bones out of it. I got a bunch of porcelain. I got different glazed potteries. It's like my yard is just so busy with stuff in it. And it's I dug a couple test holes near where I dug the breastplate skin last year. And I went down 2 feet, and there was still ashes and coal and all kinds of pottery and stuff.
Right. Now, on the Equinox, when you're using these, I don't mean to change the subject on you, but I'm just kind of curious. I know that a lot of the detectors I've had in the past, even including the Bliss tool, when you're going from the standard 11-inch to down to, whatever, 5, 6, 7-inch coil up to a 15-inch coil, what are the settings doing? What are the gains doing? Or not gains, but sensitivity. Are you able, like on the small coil, are you having to lower down the sensitivity at all, or are you able to keep it up high? Or because some of them, where I'm getting at with it.
Yeah, like one thing I noticed, I used the same settings on the 15 that I was using on the 11, and it was pretty crazy because I was getting it was almost like more quiet,
right,
with the big coil, but the small coil, I started using the ore settings on that just to give it more depth, for a 6-inch coil.
Right.
And, I noticed that, when you do that, you're running at 5 kilohertz, so you're going to dig more iron, especially big iron is going to come through better.
Right.
Especially when you got when you're not using it much biased. But that's the only way I do it. I don't use much bias, and that's willing to dig some iron junk up to find something good, because I know there's stuff hiding in there.
Right.
Well, anyway, right after I dug that hole, I got another signal, and it was bouncing all around. I pulled 4 nails out of the hole, and at 6 inches, or maybe 8 inches, I got a Indian head penny. And that was the first one I dug in that little square part of the backyard, right around between my back door and that shed.
Right.
That thing is,
Excuse me.
I've gotten like a dandy button. I've gotten, I think, one, maybe 2 bullets. I've gotten several, flat buttons, 3 buffalo nickels, I think 1 or 2 silver nickels.
That seems like with these machines, the newer ones, it just seems like it's, and I've noticed with the Simplex too. Craig and I have hunted this kind of the same way, for years. We're kind of methodical hunters, and we're always paying attention to nuance and stuff like that. But it's like the Equinox, I haven't used it yet, but from what Craig's telling me, what I've seen with the Simplex, it's giving you more tells, more information in these signals, where it's letting you know, there's iron all around it, but there's something good in the hole. It's something non-ferrous, and it's usually been pretty much right, at least with the Simplex. And it, Craig, you're doing the same thing. 5 nails, and then you find an Indian head or whatever. It's just the separation, the unmasking. I don't know it's new technology, newer way of doing things maybe. And I never noticed that so much, like, just using an example like the MXT Whites, they're good machines. White's company's been around for years, but I didn't notice so much with the stock coil, that ability. It's kind of like, when we do the nail test, the nail board or whatever, laying the nails on top of quarters, pennies and stuff like that. We've been doing this for, almost 10 years, with the Deus, with the Bliss tool, with with all these other machines. And the ones prior to that seem to have a harder time, like the iron above pennies or quarters or whatever. A lot of machines have a problem with that, or did, but it seems like it's like they figured out a way around it, or they've made it. They're able to get that non-ferrous at a deeper point and ignore the iron that's around it, or just let you know that, hey, there's a high tweak in there, or a beep, or whatever you want to call it, of the non-ferrous item down below. Just very interesting to me.
The Equinox is pretty similar to the Bliss tool, as far as like when you go over a signal, and it seems like it analyzes the signal with each swing, and if it's reading good at first, it'll start. It won't repeat every time. It'll maybe skip a couple swings and then it'll repeat high again. Or
it's like it's learning almost, or learning the target.
Like a tweak, and it doesn't like it. And then you go the other direction, and you don't get the same thing. Like when I got that big button the other day, I was using a 6-inch coil, and I went over it. The button was probably 7 inches deep, but it was the size of $50, but it was probably a little bit on edge or something. I don't know,
right.
For sure. But I got a scratch, and every time I went over, it sounded exactly the same. It was real,
Yeah, it's always in the same spot and always the same.
And then when I checked it in the other direction, same exact sound,
Right.
And I thought that's probably something, and then I chopped it out of the ground, and I couldn't believe it when I couldn't find it. It kind of flipped out of the ground to the side, and I was searching with the pinpointer, and I couldn't find it. So I jumped up and I got the signal, and it gave me like a high mid-tone. It was like 19 or 20, I think, and I was like, oh my God,
Well, it's just like the marginal target thing. There's no such thing with these newer machines, as a marginal target anymore. It's made a believer out of me on this plantation property I'm doing. It's like, man, even the type of shotgun shells, usually a 12 gauge paper round, like a pre-1935 where it says number 12 on it. I would get the same nuance with the Bliss tool, or I get the same lock-on VDI number with the Quest. It was always, like 50 something. But with the Simplex, it might read 20, solid 20, or it might read solid 64. But it depends on the thickness of them. Like the brass, if the brass is a thick brass or shallow, or maybe it looks like a coin, it's almost destroyed. The machine's able to, and it gets confusing at first a little bit, especially probably for somebody that's new to the hobby or something, but don't disregard these lower numbers. And Craig has proved it many times with the Equinox. I've done it with the Simplex. Just because something reads up as an 8 or a 9, it depends on how it sounds and how it's locking on. If it's staying locked on, it very well may be a piece of cast iron, sometimes, but that sometimes those, brass and lead and stuff like can come in there. It depends on the size, and if it's sitting at an angle, it's telling you something's there when it's repeatable. And
sometimes I can tell in one direction it's good,
right?
Even if it doesn't come back good in the other direction. And I think sometimes the coin is, or button or whatever, it's on an angle or something in the ground. It's on edge, probably. And you hit it just right and it sounds good. You hit it the other way, you know, and it's not going to, it's just not going to pick it up. One thing I noticed with that 6-inch coil is, I'd hunted the up on the right side of my house, the left side of my house in the driveway, and there's a little fence, and I was hunting against that, that area, and I dug a padlock, I think, to that smokehouse, but I hadn't really dug anything else, and I went up there with a 6-inch coil, and I get this little, nice little tone, and it was reading 11 or 8 or something like that. I think it was reading 8 in one direction and 11 in the other, but it had that, to me, it had like a brassy sound to it.
Right.
Almost. And I dug down about 2 inches, and I saw this, like edge. It almost looked like a coin sticking up, but it was, shiny. And I pulled it out, and it was this, what the heck, Corbin. It was a Corbin key, and they're real decorative. It was a real expensive
type of lock.
Well, they make cabinets and locks and doors, door handles, and all kinds of stuff to like that. But they were like premium luxury type stuff, and it's got like floral design on the key itself, but it was straight up and down in the ground, like maybe an inch or two, and so it didn't read. When I got out of the ground, I think it was reading something like 14 or 15, 16, something like that. So in the ground, it was reading like between 8 and 11, I think.
Yeah.
But, I'm a relic hunter, so I've dug the lowest number I've dug that was a good target was a tiny flat button. Still had the shank on it. It read 3, and it read solid 3. And I got that one with 11-inch coil, and it was about 4 inches deep, right in my front yard. And I'd been over it with all these other machines, never heard that signal before.
Yeah, I think a lot of.
I hear people, talking that they won't dig a signal below like 11 or 10 or 12 or something like that. So if you're a jewelry hunter, you want to dig those lower numbers, I think.
Yeah, ladies' engagement ring and stuff like that sometimes are really thin, and they will read up lower. I mean, it's just I always say take a chance. I when I used to go out, even years ago, I'd always try to dig 10 targets that kind of sounded good, but just not my normal items that I would dig, normal VDI numbers. But if they sounded good, I always try to dig 10 of those every day that I went out. And more often than not, it was a better item, even though it may have been iron. But I did have those occasions where I was finding, like on this spot I'm at right now with the Simplex. I mean, I'm finding good, solid, non-ferrous items down in that hole. And you're funny you mentioned that padlock. I don't know. I haven't even looked it up yet. I found it's a brass padlock. I mean the hook or whatever the latch is all rusted off of it, but it says Winchester on both sides of the lock, right across the front of it. And I don't know if it's some kind of a gun lock or not, or what it is. I have to look it up yet, but it's probably about a 2-inch by 1-inch tall lock. But I found it right in the area of the 1920s, little area right there down in the hole. But you can't even see where I didn't know what it was at first. I knew it was probably a padlock, but it's all rusted off, the latch. Everything else is brass on it. It's kind of a neat thing. And I did screw up tonight, Craig, already, but, I actually had the show muted the first, minute or two when I was, just introducing us and stuff. Sorry about that, guys, kind of getting into the swing again. I just was pretty much, that we're back. We're going to be doing a show on Saturdays, and Saturday nights, and we're going to figure out what we're going to do as far as during the week for the coffee with Derek and Craig. Hour or half hour or whatever. Which days of the week we're going to do that on. Just wanted to thank Loy for doing the show a couple weeks ago. Last Saturday got screwed up for me, so I just trying to get back into the swing of things. But thanks for bearing with us, and I see a lot of you guys on chat right now, and appreciate you guys tuning in and everything. Well, I'm getting it back together again, so we're going to be making some changes and stuff to the formatting and stuff like that. I somehow hit that damn mute button again. Craig drives me crazy when I do that. But I'm battling this cough, and so I try to mute it when I coughed, and I forgot to turn it back on. But so, any rate, but with that being said, that these items that we dig up, I dug something weird too, Carl. I got together part of the that one old bit. I only had half of it. I found the other half about 10 yards from where the first piece was, and again, it was just like solid, repeatable. I think I was reading it 10 or 11, and lo and behold, I got the other part of that snaffle bit, and then I turned right around about 3 foot away, and what it looks like to me is an old wedge, like you'd use for splitting wood, but this thing is only maybe 4 inches tall from the point to where you hammer it at, and where you hammer it at is all mushroomed over, but this thing probably weighs 2 pounds. It's like a stubby wedge. I don't know what the heck. You wouldn't have used it for wood to split wood with. It's just that small. I'm thinking maybe it was for when they broke those rocks up, that limestone rock, to split it down to be able to use it for a fireplace or whatever else. I'll have to put a picture of that up, let you see it, Craig. But this thing can fit in the palm of your hand, but it's like so thick. It's a substantial wedge, just really small, probably about half the size of a normal wood wedge as far as length of it. I had some cast iron. I almost want to think it's for a cast iron pot, a great big pot. The handle goes up and around this big loop handle, but it looks like it was blacksmithed. It doesn't have, it's not modern by any means. Some weird stuff like that, man. I've been digging, I just never know when I'm going to dig out of that place. Excuse me. Sorry. This cough is going to kill me, I swear. But, it just, these low VDI numbers and getting in between all this stuff, and it's weird. I'm actually surprised I haven't dug any coins yet. I'm digging everything else, buttons and everything else. And I know there has to be coins there, Craig, but the depth of what I'm getting these items at, this simplex is kicking butt, really. There's not very many of the targets I dig that aren't at least 8 inches or deeper. And, with a $250 metal detector or whatever, I never expected that. Usually that'd be the limit, is 8 inches on like a dime or something. But, the testing I've done around the house here, I'm hitting 10-inch dime, no problem. So, I don't know. This thing is definitely, performing good, or I wouldn't be using it. Quite literally would just go back to the Bliss tool or whatever. I'd probably buy an Equinox or something like that. But it seems to be, it's not, I don't think it really can compete with an Equinox, but to a certain extent. I think you have a lot more versatility with that Equinox, Greg. You have these programming things, but I think that on the same side of that, the simplex has the capability of being programmed or whatever these software updates. So I don't know what they can actually do.
That's a big game breaker. Where you can actually improve your machine as you go along. It's Deus has been doing it, since they first came out.
Right.
And we've talked about this. The Equinox, the Deus, and the simplex, or the Noctas in general. They're got the technology now where they, you got cell phone like displays,
right?
Very light machines. Yep. You can retract them. You got programmability where upgrade your machine, off the internet. It's crazy. It's if you don't have that, I don't see how a lot of other machines are going to be able to compete with that.
Right.
And the price. I mean, then you
can't beat the price. God, yeah.
I mean, that machine is at least a $600 machine, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
I think. I mean, I'd see machines that aren't quite as good as that almost going for, I see, I won't really say what they are, but, most people know, but, they're looking at the middle of the line market, and this thing is priced as basically almost like a toy and it's
right.
It's not really a midline machine. It's an upper midline or even, close to a, just.
I wouldn't have a problem. I really wouldn't have a problem paying $600-700 for that Simplex. I mean, for what it does. And I've owned, a lot of these mid-level machines and stuff, and I'm not saying they're bad. I mean, I think, like every metal detector will find you some. It's just that some machines are just better at some things than others. I mean, it's just technology, and it's the time.
Chips,
I mean,
these new chips, is
right.
making it all, it's just going to keep getting faster. I mean, and they can make so many more processes now, and it's very early on doing this kind of stuff,
Right. That's why we had an email.
Who knows what they're going to be able to come up with? They might even be able to boost the depth, but depth isn't always the only thing. It's unmasking. I see it in these colonial spots. I was watching I watch the quarter horder a lot, and they go up mostly in Pennsylvania, and they go try to get onto these big farms that are go back to the early 1700s, and
right.
They'll have like 8 guys out there, and they'll dig 20 coppers in one day between them, and all kinds of other stuff, But this one guy, he had a Garrett, and then he was doing pretty good with it, and Jason he switched and got a Amphibio, and decided to get a Simplex just for the heck of it. And he let his friend Don use it, and Don won't give it back. Don is on fire. I mean, he's like, running head with everybody else, and not, even better almost. And so the big joke is now, whenever he finds something, either him or Jason finds something, they go, "Holy macro!"
Macro. Jeez. Well, I mean, I got an email. I think you did too, Craig. And one guy was, upset they said we were picking on whites or something like that. About.
Well, I wasn't. He was just. I just saw it on a forum where he's upset, and I don't think it's just me, because I know that guys that are diehard white guys, and they're very upset because they haven't innovated and haven't done anything yet. And this,
exactly.
Guys said, well, when they're ready, well, they just came out with a gold machine. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I haven't. I'll have to look at it. No, I haven't.
It's a GXT, I think. White's GXT, I believe, or something. Yeah,
they used to have they used to have a GMT. I know I've used one of those from White's, and it was a pretty good, machine. That was one of the, early on machines. But it's not beating them up at all. I mean, I've used a lot of White's machines. I have a lot of respect for them. They've been around for years and years. And pretty much what we were saying, it was that it's time to get outside of the box and start going after these new chips and the way that you can use them to make a detector that's outside of the box a little bit. That's what Mind Lab did. That's what Nocta Macro did. You got to progress, or you're going to be stuck in the back. And it's like White's is a good company.
I don't see it really as a criticism.
No, I don't either. I mean, it wasn't meant that way.
We're worried that they may not do it. Look what happened with the Soro,
right? Or even Garrett. Garrett has a great one of the best-selling machines in the AT Pro. But I mean, I'm
haven't
sure
knit,
they're looking. Well,
they haven't knit. They
right.
haven't knit. With both their pinpointer and their the AT Pro, AT Max. That is a solid product.
Well, they're an innovative company too, Craig. I mean, that's the way I look at it. They're going to find something. They're going to find a way to come up with a new detector or electronically new to make it work a little bit different than the other ones. They're going to be back in the ball game too. It's just, it's got to start somewhere. Really, Deus started this. The way I look at it, anyways. Deus started this when he came out with the first Deus. They were using a lot of these different not technology. I guess you would say it. I mean, it's all wireless. All the machine, the whole control box, so to speak, is in the coil. You don't even need to use the screen at all. I mean, really. I mean, the headphones is one of the best wireless headphones at the time that was come up with, and and Deus has since come out. I haven't looked at very much about the ORX or anything like that, but you got to get these machines in your hands to make an accurate explanation of what the machine will do, the performance of it. And, to buy machines, you guys know what it costs money to buy these machines and test them and this and that and the other thing. But, I never beat them up, Craig, because I've made tons of good finds with my Whites machines. Can't complain a bit about them. It's just that it's a different level. I mean, really the MXT hadn't changed very much up until 4 or 5 years ago when they came up with the MX Pro. And I don't know how much internal changes have been made. I never really got into that, because I was already out of, from using an MXT. But, they came up with the MX Sport, which was, kind of a flop as far as I was concerned. But, it's the level of the machines is getting so competitive. Even you're looking at like the CTX, a lot of people like that machine, but they like the Equinox better. There's a lot of guys going from CTX to Equinox, and they're made by the same company and everything. And I never really got into the CTX at all. It's a heavier machine. I did like the idea that it's waterproof and all that, but now you got the Equinox that does the same thing. It seems to be doing better from what I've been seeing. And I'm not saying throw yours away and buy an Equinox, but I'm just saying, if you have a detector, get everything you can out of it. The
CTX is like the White's V3i.
Yeah,
you could program the heck out of it.
Right.
You can, and these beach and jewelry guys, they got programs that are just unbelievable where they can pick all this stuff out with it. And so that that's what I hear about. That's why. And in the water, that thing is probably not as heavy in the water, No,
it's actually probably pretty helpful in the water, because, it kind of, I know when I had the Beach Hunter ID from White's, it was all well and good, but their coils float, or did. They may have changed that, but I used to have to put a small, sandbag on, well, actually it was a bag of marbles on the coil to hold the coil down in the water,
But I have, some of the beach guys that are relic hunters and doing in the water, I see them all switch to the Equinox, and
what's versatility, the programming and everything.
Well, I was also like one of the guys. He's kind of a little tiny guy, and he said the CTX is a great machine, but it was killing me.
Yeah.
I'm getting old, and this thing is killing me. And he goes, I'll go to the Equinox with a carbon fiber shaft, and he goes, man, it's so
it's ergonomic, it's balanced.
Yeah. Well, why could we had stuff like this years ago?
No, the technology wasn't there. It wasn't ready to really come out.
I had this Stingray underwater machine, and that thing must weigh 6 pounds. God, that thing is heavy. And it's got probably a 8 or 9 inch coil on it, but that thing is, the coil is heavy, it's weighted, but the box too is heavy. But it's funny with this carbon fiber shaft I've got. It took 1/4 pound off the machine.
Right, and that's a lot when you think about it too. the balance point, that was one of the things that, like, with I think it was the Garrett, the AT Pro, where it was 3.5 pound metal detector, but a pound and a half of that was to the coil side. So it bothered my wrist. I mean, but it's not that, you can't have, you just you adjust it to make sure you can work the machine and take that pressure off your wrist and everything. But you swing that thing for 8 or 9 hours, it's going to rip your arm off. It's just like a CTX. I mean, it's 5.8 pounds or something like that. If you're using it in the water, it's probably fantastic. But you swing that thing out in the field for 8 hours, and your arm's going to fall off. I've been out there with the Simplex. It's under 3 pounds, and my arm hasn't hurt at all. It's balanced differently.
It's the same weight as the Equinox, stock.
Right, and it just doesn't bother your arm as much. And I've even noticed that, like, the design of the detector shaft itself is different. They've eliminated the Simplex eliminated the wobble. Where you're swinging and you get that wobble on some detectors, but the way they shaped it was almost like it's like a square shaft with the corners, the top two corners are filed almost like a pyramid. Not quite, but I can't remember what they call it. The shape, but
like a hexagon sort of.
Something like that. But when it slides together and they have grooves right there, I tell you what, and actually the detector shaft will flex. Like when you put the coil on the ground, you can actually push some pressure and watch it has flex in it. But when you go side to side, it doesn't wobble, whatever, which is fantastic. I mean, I'm going through stubble and banging into rocks and everything else, and the thing's not falsing like a lot of detectors do. Even the bliss tool would do that. You bang into the corn stubble or whatever, you get a rogue little false or beep. You don't really get anything at all out of the Simplex. And I'm brushing this thing, beating it on the ground and everything else because I'm rough on metal detectors. I mean, if it ain't going to stand up and get the job done, physically or whatever, it doesn't really matter what the internals are if the thing falls apart on you when you're using it, So, I'm pretty tough on detectors, and I've I'm actually surprised about it's not a carbon fiber, it's a polymer shaft on the Simplex, or at least it seems like it's not carbon fiber. I know for sure, but they're using these different mixtures or whatever. And it's allowing to have flex, but yet not break. It's not brittle. It feels brittle. Like the coil ears feel brittle. It's just the type of material, but they're really strong. They're thicker. I haven't had any problems with mine. I don't think anybody else has either. But, I'm curious because I heard, I think it was you that was telling me that they're talking about coming out with a small coil for the Simplex. And I'm actually wanting to get my hands on it.
People have been talking, that they want a smaller, coil, maybe a 6-inch coil or something. But I think they've said that they'll probably be releasing other coils in the future. But,
I haven't even done the update yet on that machine.
I think there's 2 updates.
Right, I need to do that. I need to do something because I literally took the machine out of the box and charged it and went out and used it. I mean, I read the manual, obviously, but I haven't done any updates to it at all, so I may do that. I was going to actually head out detecting tomorrow morning, depending on what this weather does, whatever it's going to be nice and cool out anyways. I might get done with the show and do that update on just to see, I'm sure it's going to make a difference, but I've been having such good luck with the thing. It's kind of like, it ain't broke, don't fix it till it is, But, I think it opens up a big door for people to be able to get into the hobby, and not break the bank, so to speak, and have a machine. With any machine you buy, though, Craig, it's not because you spend whatever amount you spend $2,000 on a metal detector doesn't mean it's going to find you anything more than the $200 metal detector. If you don't know what you're doing, or if you're not used to using one. The learning curve.
There's another thing that I just suddenly realized. It kind of upsets you when you see how great this machine is for under $300, and look at these ones it's beating. as far as depth and stuff,
Oh my God, yeah, yeah.
which programmability and whatnot. So this is a game changer. It's going to drop. Everybody's going to have to compete. It's going to put everybody up against this standard now.
And I think they can do it. I mean, a company like White's or Garrett, man, you guys, these tech guys that do this, that build these machines, I know they have ideas, Craig. I mean, anybody who loves what they do for a living like they do, they have other ideas. It's just getting them the technology to catch up and be able to do it. So, I mean, I expect White's to come out with something fantastic. I really do. I mean, I hope they do. They've always treated me right. And I've never had really any problems at all. If there's anything broke or whatever, I just make a phone call, and most of the time they fixed it for free and gave me stuff on top of it, extra detector shaft or whatever else. I've never had any problem with White's. And, I kind of got upset a little bit when I got that email. It's like, dude, I'm by no means am I beating up White's. I mean, they've been around since, 1959, Craig? They're probably one of the first, I mean, from what I can remember, they're one of the first metal detecting companies, or what it was putting out a hobby machine. I think it was, 59? Something like that.
Yeah,
I have to look at it.
I think Fisher was the first. I think it was
Fisher?
the 30s,
Okay.
actually.
Oh, really? That far back?
Yeah, and they might have had, maybe like mine, detect. That's what most people use was the
mine's.
detectors.
Yeah. Well, I know, like the CZ21. It's a Fisher machine, and my buddy Mike Miller, he has 2 or 3 of them, and he has a Excalibur also, but he really swears by that Fisher, F70, or I'm sorry, the CZ21. It's a fantastic underwater detector. And a lot of people, you don't hear a lot of talk about it, but, Mike has 40 plus years metal detecting, and he's one of these guys that'll go out in chest deep water for 8 hours and hunt. The guy's 74 years old, and he'll out hunting me. I can't stay out there in that water and do that for 8 hours. I'd probably be lucky to do 3 hours, because that's a really physically demanding on you, your body, especially when you're in the surf. But, when I got, guys like him that are saying, hey, I have both machines and I always go to the CZ21, it tells me that Fisher has a really good machine right there, for that application. But on the same hand, you have the situation like with the T2s, Technetics T2 and the F75 Fisher. I mean, they're about the same metal detector. There's something different, because the Technetics T2 does a better job than the F75 does. I mean, I've owned an F75, and I got rid of an F75 because it just was not working right or whatever. I don't know, man. It was, the AT Pro outperformed it, and I did a really fair comparison test, and a live hunt, and it was nothing planted. It was just what the machines would pick up, and no matter what I did, I couldn't get that F75 to work right, or to recognize targets that I thought were very simple for really any machine to get. And we're talking 2 and 3 inches in the ground, like bullets and stuff. And the AT Pro's nailing them, and the Bliss Tool's nailing it, and the F75 is giving me an iron signal. Could it be a bad coil? It could have been, but I really don't think so. I would have noticed that. So yeah, every company, they come up with a whole slew of detectors. I mean, Mind Lab, has tons of metal detectors that, they've put out over the years, and White's does too. The DFX from White's, I mean, I like the MXT better than the DFX, and even though the DFX has a few more bells and whistles. But, it just takes time to work with these machines. If you're just going out once a month and just having fun with it, by all means, have fun. And, there's are those guys that are, like, Craig and I, and you got to spend the time with it.
Like one car brand over another.
Right.
They fight over it, or a football team over another football team or something. It's kind of like that,
Yeah.
I've never been a fanboy, as far as, I always wanted the best. It doesn't matter what company it comes from, and I've never been interested in middle of the line machines. I only looked at the top of the line ones. But when I see the Simplex, I said, God, that thing would have been $1,500 machine 10 years ago.
Yep. Yeah. No. Well, I remember when in like the early, I say mid 2000s, Craig, right up to when the 2012 or whatever, everybody was talking depth. Oh, I wish I can get deeper. Wish I can get deeper. And then all of a sudden, get the bliss tool and we're digging quarters at 15, 16 inches down in the ground. And the next thing I hear is, well, I don't want to dig that deep. Give me a break. Either you want to dig deep or you don't want to dig deep. So now they come up with a machine that unmasks better. They have been. Every machine's been getting better and better. And now they're not digging. The low numbers. Not everybody, but I mean, there's a bunch of. It pretty much comes down to what you want to dig, really. But don't overlook, or don't because you're getting a 20 signal or 10 signal or the VDI number really doesn't. You're going by sound. Go by sound. Your ears are more sensitive, anyways. And if you're a relic hunter, you want that repeatable signal or that high tweak down in there. You look at the VDI number as it's a research tool. It's an extra analysis kind of thing to give you an idea. Okay, it's jumping between this number and that number, whatever it is, locking on more on the high side. I use it as an investigation tool. The same thing with pinpointing. I mean, with the Simplex, I can pinpoint a target, and I'm trying to explain it before, but it does a few different things. If you look at the little depth meter, and then it has the pinpoint is like a bullseye, and if it's a real shallow target, it'll have like one dot, and if it's not, there's like it looks like a bullseye signal when it gets deeper and deeper. The item's deeper and deeper. So there's a lot of little tells, and even turning some of this stuff off on the machines, like on the Simplex, you can turn the iron volume off if you want to. I turn it down to 1. I want to hear the iron, but I don't want it to overpower the good signals, the non-ferrous signals that are down in that hole. That's where the high tweak comes in. You get a repeatable tweak that's in there every time you swing, and you go the other direction, you may still get it, you may not, but it's telling you there's non-ferrous at the bottom of that hole. So you have to understand what you're doing with it, or you're going to pass it by. And I came upon this right the first day I used the machine, Craig. It was like, I got to dig this. I got to dig. It just sounds too good. It sounds too good. And I said it in the video. And, it's live hunt. I mean, I didn't know what I was going to dig out of the ground. And I'm pulling buttons and axe heads and, all this stuff out of the ground, fishing reels and, just whatever. I mean, it's what a treasure hunter, relic hunter, metal detectors, whatever, would want to find. You're trying to save some history. You're trying to, these little trinkets from the past that, you can't find anymore. You got to dig them up because there's really not very many in existence, still around or whatever. If there is, trying to buy them would probably be crazy, Craig. It's, a couple of friends were telling me that I had over the other day, and he goes, you find all this stuff? I said, yeah. He goes, oh, this is cool. But where'd you get this one at? Or whatever. Did you buy any of this stuff? I said, where are you going to buy it at? You buy a World War I drill sergeant's whistle that, has dates on it and everything. I don't even know how much it would cost you if you could find one at all. Or a one-drop oiler. I can't even find a photo of the thing. As a Shakespeare, a lot of these people are into collecting, fishing reels and lures and stuff like that. And then I turn around and find a 1920s reel. That's what, I have to put a photo of it up, and I found it in several pieces, but I found it spread out over about 10 yards. And so now I got a one-drop oiler from the 1921, and I have this, I'm thinking it's a Shakespeare reel, open-face bait casting reel, in the same time frame. So, I need to look that up to see what they look like, see if it's the one I have. But, I mean, yeah, that and 10 cents will get me a cup of coffee maybe, but, I mean, it's kind of neat to save that history because it's something that I don't have. It's like a bucket list item I didn't even know I was looking for. You've done that a lot too, Craig, with the stuff you're finding. I mean, that flat button you found with the Aztec flat button, man, I thought that was awesome. I'd never seen one like that. I don't even know if you could buy one of those things anywhere. And if you did, it wouldn't have the same, nostalgia as that one would, so.
Somebody was saying, Aztec button, and that's what I've heard it called. And I
Well, it
think
looks like an Aztec sun, is what it looks like to me.
yeah, yeah. I was talking to Loy about it, and he said he's found one like that too. And the guy that I heard talk about it, call it that, was Brad from Green Mountain Metal Detecting, and he dug the exact same one I dug.
They're pretty cool. I'd never seen one before. I mean, I never really was looking for one, but I just thought it was really neat looking.
Well, it's like it's got like a circle, and then there's a little tiny circle of dots in the very middle. But on the big circle, there's little triangles, and on one edge of the triangle, always on the same side of the triangle, is flames, and then there's like another circle around the real close to the rim. But it's a big button. It's the size of $50. There are dandy buttons that are bigger than that.
Yeah, I got that one up in Horsham that I wish it had something on the face of it, but it doesn't. That big dandy button I dug up there, that was the first one I've ever dug. But it doesn't have a design on them.
Yeah, I've dug, I got two bigger ones in my yard. One of them has like, kind of almost like a flower on it or something. They're both, closer almost to a silver dollar size. But those buttons, they don't stay long. They don't stay in the ground long if people are metal detected.
I was actually surprised I found the one I did up there, because there was like 125 hunters, and I know 50 of them went right through that area. Just they didn't get the coil over it, or it was relatively deep. It's right where you found that lantern part. It was about 14 inches down in the ground too, but. That ground was a weird ground anyways, but a lot of coal in it and stuff. But it's like this hunt, this Florida Hunt 6 or whatever. I see Barb's on here. I guess Barb, you're going to that hunt here down here in near Stark, Florida, or whatever. Here, February 8th. I'll be there too. I think I'm trying to get a room at the same hotel you guys are at. So. Maybe we'll meet up and grab some dinner or something like that too. Get a group of us together, or maybe bring a barbecue or grill, Craig. That's what I think I'll do. Cook some steaks out in the parking lot, pass around the shine a little bit, We did it at the DIV. That was pretty fun. But it's like the before party.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to be heading to that, and, that hunt over there. And I think, well, I talked to Mark Hoover. I think he said he was going too, and I think Dwight Collins going from New Age Goonies. He'll be there. Of course, Greg was going to call. We ended up not doing a show last Saturday. I got just a mess of stuff that happened I had to take care of, but and Greg Pompano was supposed to call in. And, of course, I didn't have the show going. So he might call in tonight. I don't know. It's getting kind of later. But he wanted to talk about the hunt up there and everything. And I guess they had some people that didn't, I don't know, we think it was 6 or 7 people that weren't able to make it. So there is some openings for it if you live. Well, it doesn't matter where you live at, but I mean, it's down here in Central Florida. And last year or the year before last, I found that 1700s wine tap, and then I think it was Brian Robinson found the trigger guard from the 1778 Rhode Island flintlock. It was a brass trigger guard, and they've had a bunch of coins and stuff. So this place was like near as I can tell, it was like almost like a picnic grove in a way, Craig. And I'm trying to remember the exact, because Greg told me, but he says that he thinks a lot of the stuff's going to be found in the woods, because they would go out there and have picnics and everything like that. So, it really, I'm hoping to get into some at least early 1800s anyway stuff in there. But, with these hunts too, it's like I told you, it's a great place to rub elbows, so to speak. To meet all, everybody and make some new friends and everything. The relics are all great and everything. I want to see everybody find something, but don't let it be all about what you find, because sometimes it's tough. You don't get your coil over, you're not going to find nothing. It's just, I've had it happen. Craig, you saw me up there at CWPPO. I mean, you're digging stuff left and right, and I'm finding a pistol bullet once in a while. It's just not getting my coil over or anything. It does get frustrating once in a while, but I hate when because there's so much good that comes out of these hunts, whether it's a DIV or the CWPPO or Florida Hunt or whatever. They got the ones up farther north too. All the people you meet, and you can learn something, or you can teach something, or whatever. It's a good camaraderie and everything. So if you're new to the hobby, don't be shy. If you live nearby one of these hunts, heck, sign up for it. If anything else, you're going to meet a lot of the people that love to do the same thing you do. So don't let your experience level stop you. You surround yourself and you learn from the best. I mean, you could spend 4 or 5 hours with an experienced hunter, learn so much just by watching what he's doing, what she's doing, and what they're digging, how they're digging, and everything. It builds your experience level, exponentially. And you could have like 1 or 2 years, but if you spend all this time with, learning this stuff, you're like a 5-year veteran almost. It's all an experience, experience level. So, that's what we've seen guys do that, Craig. You remember, right? Some of these guys had like a year or two, man. They're out there like 10-year veterans, for crying out loud, the stuff they're finding and learning their machines and just, learning the etiquette and all that kind of stuff too goes along with it. So, don't be shy about getting into these hunts. Matter of fact, I think it was Bill Marsh put on here, and I'm trying to pan back a little bit. There was a hunt up in Illinois in June. And I'm trying to pan back a little bit, doggone it. Just scratch 3 entries. Hang on. Oh, shoot, Bill. Put it back up, brother. Whatever the name of that hunt was that you were talking about in June of this year up in Illinois. There are a lot of good relics up there. I hunted Indiana's right next door. And, I found a lot of cool old stuff up there, early 1800s and stuff. I know they got even older stuff, those old schools and stuff that sit along the road, the country roads and stuff like that. Even in Ohio, I mean, Bill's finding all kinds of 1700 stuff. And, at that one site where you found that $50, Craig, it's the history's there, and you just got to get your coil over it, so to speak. But, like northern Pennsylvania, Ohio, Illinois, Indiana, really anywhere, Craig. But it's just there's like a path through there. And, people, they lost a lot of stuff. Yeah, so dropped a lot of stuff or whatever. So, it's not.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, you just, the best advice I have, if you want to find, cool stuff, dig everything. Dig the trash. I know it's, a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
But you could, I can tell you, I've hundreds of times I've dug a piece of trash and gone over the signal, over the same, maybe inches away, and I get another signal that was overpowered by the other one, and it's something good. And if I hadn't dug that piece of trash up, I would have never gotten it.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like if you're on a Civil War site, or a colonial site, there's probably going to be modern trash on it. Dig it all up because it's masking something.
Yeah.
Go for the iffy signals, especially if you've been in there a few times and the signals start going away. Go slower, go at different angles. If you hear anything in one direction, take a chance and dig a hole and see if it comes back better on your detector. A lot of times, if you just take a big divot out of the ground, and go back over it, it'll clear the signal up,
right,
and make it stronger, and you'll be able to tell if it's, it could be totally iron, but if it, I've had scratchy signals where it's very, you go, is that really a good signal or not? It's just like, you can't really tell, Sometimes when you take a divot or stomp the ground on top of it, it'll clear the signal up, one way or the other.
Yeah, Bill.
I tell people, always go for it. Watch the Hoover Boys and some of these guys, on YouTube that they dig everything. They don't always show you. The Hoover Boys show you this big trash buckets that they dig in those fields. And that's how they dig all this stuff. They dig every signal. They dig tons of iron up. You know, and it's just a matter of, it's like playing the lottery. The more chances you take, you know,
Yeah.
the better the better chance you have of finding something good.
I,
See what
I
they find.
yeah, I
I
will
mean,
take what 20 pull tabs to get one gold ring. Those are good odds. I'll
yeah,
take that all day long. Bill put a post up here. It's Galesburg, Illinois, June 12th and 13th, and I guess he's hunting with Chuck Smalley. My voice is shut. I'm gonna call him Smiley, but it's Smalley, Smalley, and actually, true deal, Bill. I actually met Chuck up at the Detectivepalooza hunt in 2000 and what was that? 2012, Craig. That's back when Dave
oh,
McMahon and
yeah,
I met Chicago
yeah,
Ron for the first time, and what was it? Josh Kimmel. I met him for the first time. They were using. That's when the CTX first came out or had been out for a little while, and Chuck was using that CTX over there on that at the beach over there in Chicago, and I was kind of filming him, and he got a signal down in the ground. He goes, "Well, it's something like 9 inches down," and he goes, "It's not really a good signal sound, or whatever, but man, I think it's a dime at like 9 inches." And sure enough, he dug down there, and it was a 62 dime or something like that, a silver dime. And then he ended up finding a little box with some earrings in him. Kind of a neat find, but neat guy. I mean, I just, and he probably doesn't even remember me, but we were at that one old kind of Art Deco kind of hotel right there in Chicago, and he brought some raw gold out. That's when I had the Blistool V3, and I had just gotten it. I think a few months before, but he pulled out a piece of platinum gold, real raw platinum gold, and he says, "Well, I don't think you're going to get this, but we'll try." We're in the parking lot with all the EMI and everything else. He run that platinum nugget as a little picker, and the bliss tool went off. He goes, "I can't believe that thing's picking it up." And I said, "Yeah, man, this thing's wicked." And well, they were joking with me when I first went to the hunt the first day that, "Oh, we'll have to get together and put that thing to the test, see what it can compare to the CTX with." And I said, "Yeah, okay, bring it on." Because I wasn't worried about it. I knew what the bliss tool would do. But then the next day he said, "Well, you guys got some time?" And they just looked at me and said, "No, we ain't got no time." He goes, "We saw how deep you were digging on that beach, and there's no way that we can dig that deep." I was digging cans at like 2.5 foot down in the ground and stuff like that. Craig, it was crazy. But yeah, Chuck's a good guy. I mean, that guy, he knows metal technically. Shoot, that's the kind of people you meet. Josh Kimmel's another one, a hell of a hunter. I mean, Josh been hunting for I don't even know how many years, but I know he was a big E-track guy. He had that machine figured all out just by the nuance and sound. He could pick out stuff, and I couldn't do that with the E-track. I mean, that E-track drove me crazy. Just the sound of it, I couldn't get my ear wrapped around it. But yeah, these guys would hunt the water. I think Chicago Ron was using I want to say he was using a CTX too, if I'm not mistaken. But man, he's found tons and tons of rings and gold and everything else up there in Chicago, all those beaches and everything. He does that water hunting. All good guys. Well, now I think what Ron's doing, what the European thing, and he over in the UK and everything does those tours over there. Craig.
yeah,
So
barn hunt.
yeah, good people. His wife Gretchen was awesome.
Yeah, I think they did that most of the year or something nowadays. I think it's a regular business for him.
Yeah, he does it every year. I keep on wanting to go over there, and I just, I made it to Bulgaria and stuff like that. I may try to go over to the UK this year, get involved in that a little bit more. It's like I wanted to come up and hunt with you for a while too, Craig. And my daughter's telling me to fly out to Colorado, and I know I have several listeners over there in Colorado. I guess they live just south of Denver. But yeah, they get maybe have a chance to look for some gold too, real gold, placer gold or whatever. I'm always into the adventure part of it. Just gonna see. I don't know if I'll find anything at all, but if anything else, Craig, I'll dig some nails that were from Colorado. Some pull tabs, whatever. Hey, you don't know if you have a bucket list item if you don't even know what you're digging for. You know what I mean? It's kind of like Horsham, Pennsylvania, or when I went to hunt with Bill Pendergrass and Tom Bunch over there in Murfreesboro near Nashville area, whatever. And, I never really dug a 3-ringer or 69 caliber, and I'm digging this stuff up, and I'm like, this is pretty cool. Everything's a bucket list item, but you learn the different terrains, the different mineralizations. Like you go to Culpeper, Virginia, that's a whole different ball game, guys. Don't take your AT Pro to Culpeper. You're going to get your butt kicked. You got to have the right machine for the job, or you got to learn how to hunt with it. It's a different, that mineralization's a different world. So.
I was watching several guys doing videos from there this year, and it looked to me like it was hardly any surface hunting done. What they were doing was looking for pits and hut sites to dig down into. And once they did, I mean, some of them really produced, and then some, didn't have. You just never know when you.
Oh yeah, the place has been pounded. I remember when I went there, Craig. It was like, all I could look out from the top of the hill there and look down and see over 150 hunters, most of them with GPXs or GPX 5000, 4500s. I just wondered about the pulse induction ohming. Was so many hunters out there, what it was doing. But I went down after they kind of filed out of there and moved on to the next field, and I was hunting in between all the holes, and they're like, oh, okay, they missed a target here, and I got to, end up getting a piece of a colonial shoe buckle. You didn't expect to find that. You expect to find Civil War stuff, and then I started digging Sharps bullets like 10, 12 inches down in the ground. It's like, I felt pretty good. I'm using a VLF. They're using a pulse induction, so.
It's like the Hoover boys were there, and they dig all this colonial stuff. They hardly ever dig anything Civil War. So they went. I think last year or last spring or something. They went there, but they were digging flat buttons. And, one of them dug a colonial copper. And
he's like, "What the heck?"
and he's like, they were going nuts. They brought a what was it, ATZ pulse machine from Garrett.
Yeah.
They were kind of switching back and forth with those. And,
God, their shoulders must have been killing them.
Yeah. It's like, Kurt's a big guy. I mean, he's a huge guy.
Yeah. I just meant the general 8-pound metal detector. Like, dang. But it gets a job done. That's what I'll sacrifice some cartilage in my shoulder. No big deal if I'm finding stuff. Hell, it sounds like they did pretty good.
But they didn't get a whole lot. But they did. They were just surface hunting. You got to go and dig the pits up there. I think is how that's how you're going to make a spectacular find. There was one guy that found like 3 or 4 really good bottles. Another guy found a complete teapot.
Oh my gosh!
And it was actually painted, and the paint was still good on it.
That's crazy.
And, it was like a NAMLA or something. It was weird.
When I was up there, somebody dug a doggone hut site, and they got a full uniform. Of course, the uniform was probably trash, but all the buttons, the sword, a copper kettle, all kinds of beer bottles. Of course, they had the breastplate and the whole 9 yards. I don't even know whatever happened. I never heard anything else about it after that. But the guy, it was his first hunt, the first time doing a hut site, and everybody was talking about. They couldn't believe the amount of relics that came out of that one pit or whatever. And these guys, man, I tell you what, digging up there is not easy. You guys, Craig, it's like privy digging. I don't want to dig that much. You know what I mean? I guess I would if there was relics down there. I don't know. But, you'd be beat to death. These guys are out there with these pieces of rebar. They're 5 foot long, driving these things into the ground, trying to, find a hollow spot so they knew where the hut site was. And then, the guys out with the GPX 5000s, they're digging. Well, I'm getting a signal here, let's dig. And then they start dig. And they got this huge hole, and they're digging for like 45 minutes to an hour to get down, a little ways, and they'll decide whether they want to keep on digging or not, whether they're finding anything. And then they had another part of that hill where, it's where a couple of the ladies that were in the carpool with me, one of them digs her first eagle button. over there by the dairy farm. And she goes to rub the top. I was standing right there, and the whole thing collapsed in her hand. I learned a lot. Don't mess with the damn buttons. Don't mess with the bottles. Don't clean them and everything. Let that bottle sit for 2 weeks. A lot of information that we just, I guess, unless you do it all the time, you don't have that information to know not to, when to clean, what not to clean and everything. So, I was like a sponge, man. Anything anybody was talking about, I'm sitting there listening, and, it just makes me a better hunter because I don't hunt in that environment all the time. You got to be able to compete,
Cleaning is a hard thing. It's like people want those artifacts to look really good, and sometimes they're not going to be good. It doesn't matter what you do to them.
Right, and sometimes the character is worth leaving it alone.
One of the guys this guy Terry that I used to talk to a lot, and I guess he's in his mid-70s now, and he's still hunting. But he talked about uncleaning, where you actually would put Vaseline and then sprinkle dirt on it to bring up the highlights, like a button or a plate or something like that.
Right,
and they would, cover it in dirt, and then it would bring out, and it would look, it was presentable, in your collection. Whereas, the other part, when you didn't have it looked like crap.
Right,
and,
right.
I had gotten into a 12th New York camp, and I found a S&Y belt buckle there, but I'd also found, and I don't know if anybody else had found any, but I got two 12th New York buttons, which were pretty rare from what I'm hearing, and it had like a 12 with a wreath around it, and so he actually took the buttons, and he wanted to practice, and he said, I've gotten this technique down really well, and you can always, if you don't like it, you can always wash it off, so he brought it back to me, and I looked at it and I said, man, I'm never washing those off. It looks good.
Yeah.
It actually brought all the detail back.
Some of those flat buttons I might work on too. I never even thought about trying that, like a powder or anything, something like that, to bring out any kind of detail on those, on some of the flat buttons. Whether I don't know if it would work or not. Trying to.
The trouble is sometimes the brass gets kind of porous or kind of like sandpaperish, crunchy.
Yeah.
If it's real smooth and you can get it down smooth, then there's more chance of it. But a lot of the brass stuff now, and like the Indian heads and the wheat pennies and stuff, I just put them in peroxide, and for several days, and it lifts all that junk off of them. And, and then you can kind of decide whether what you want to do. But a lot of times, if the crud's not too bad on it, they don't look too bad after that.
Well, it's like that horse bit I found, that snaffle bit.
But you want to, one of the things you want to do is when you get them like that, they're going to start turning green in the air pretty quickly. So
right, you got to seal them.
I put that Renaissance wax on and rub it on, and it keeps them, and it makes them actually look better, almost better that way.
Right. I need to get that information from you. I got to get some of that too. I mean, let's talk about that horse bit that I found, the half of the snaffle bit, and it's the one piece that I soaked for 2 weeks in molasses and water. And I finally said, well, I'm not doing this anymore because now it's getting to the point now where it's, it might just, it could, if I left it in any longer, it may have destroyed the bit itself because it was actually wrapped in copper. It's like a sweet bit. You put the copper in, the horse likes it better. So, but I found the other piece, like I said. So I'm going to compare the two and see, I haven't touched this other one other than just to kind of, brush off the dirt off of it to show the difference in where, the way I found it, the one half compared to the other that's been cleaned. So
yeah,
I've been going a no clean route on a lot of it because I think I have 4 or 5 gallon buckets full of stuff.
Yeah, you can always wait and clean all that stuff for later.
Right, right. But anyways, Craig, we're kind of want to get done for tonight. It's about a little after 9:15 or whatever. I do want to say, having that celebration of life for my wife on Saturday, the 1st of February, about 2. if you're down this way or whatever, you all want to come to it, come on, because it's all about the beer, no tears. So I've got, well, shoot, Craig, I have people coming in from Idaho and stuff like that, and friends from New York, and just all around. And believe it or not, even her school teacher from high school showed up at the VFW tonight, or yesterday, sorry, Friday night, and came in to say hi and everything, and said, well, I contacted such as so many of the people. Pauline graduated in '86, so I mean, it's been quite a while ago, and it's like, so I said, yeah, come on out to the party. So they're all bringing, it's like a potluck. Everybody's bringing stuff. We're just going to have fun. That's what she wanted to do anyway. So, so if you got a chance to come out this way, you're more than welcome to come out. It's at the VFW post, and, of course, the beer will be flowing. So, but yeah, we'll be on, we're probably not going to do a show during the week this week. We will be doing Saturday night shows, and we're going to get back with you on that, Craig, and I need to talk and figure out, which days or whether we want to just keep it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It's kind of up to you guys, too. So if you have a suggestion or a day of the week you'd like to hear a morning show, hey, let us know. It's all about everybody. So I guess that's about all I got for tonight, Craig. About whooped.
Yep.
And I didn't hit the mute button anymore. Thank God. And I was wondering what was going to mess up tonight. I figured it would be me, but but maybe I'll get my voice back by then.
The evil mute button.
Yeah. I had that doggone cough for like 2 weeks, and I don't know. It's tore up my voice so bad. It's getting better, but me talking all the time doesn't help. Let you do all the talking next Saturday. Anyways, guys, thanks for listening, and let everybody know we're back on again. We'll be doing this thing every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Thanks for listening in, and we'll talk to you next Saturday. Have a good night.